Everyone has imagined going back in time with memories of the future, haven't they? That's exactly what happened in this story. Desu Herman failed in his mission to save the world from a monster and thought it was his end. But as he closed his eyes and awaited his death, strangely, he went back in time remembering everything that had happened. Now his goal is to do things differently so that he doesn't lose his loved ones again. Come with me and follow this fascinating journey, full of twists and choices that can change Desu's and the world's fate. Without further ado, let's get to the recap. The story starts showing a great destruction caused by that giant dragon. Its name is Napolitan, the last monster our heroes have to destroy to save the world. Out of millions of wizards sent to defeat it, only 6 survive. That's right, out of millions, only 6 are alive. If they die, humanity's end is sealed. Among these 6 is Desu Herman, the protagonist of this story. Now we'll have a brief explanation of why humanity is suffering from these attacks. Basically, a deadly mist is about to leak from the dark worlds and come to Earth, and if it arrives, it's over, everyone is doomed. And the wizards are responsible for defeating the monsters from these dark worlds so that planet Earth remains safe. The dark world where Desu is facing the dragon Napolitan is the worst of all, and as I said, it defeated millions and millions of wizards, leaving only the last 6. Oh, and don't ask me why it's called Napolitan, it doesn't seem Italian, much less like ice cream. Now, the battle against the big guy begins. The dragon launches its first attack, but before it hits the wizards, the attack is completely nullified. Napolitan then decides to try a much stronger attack. But once again, the magic is completely nullified by Desu, giving them an opening to attack the big monster. And they do. They quickly advance towards the dragon, and the warriors strike it with a combined attack, seemingly defeating it. Note that I said, seemingly, you'll soon see why. After that, the sun reappears, and everyone is happy and celebrates the defeat of the ice cream. Oops, I meant dragon. Then, they talk about the long battle they had. We're informed that 150 million wizards were sent to battle against Napolitan, and only 6 survived. At this moment, Desu remembers his closest friends, a red-haired girl and a boy with blue hair, among many other warriors who lost their lives in this destroyed world. While they talked, another wizard from the group asks where Desu has been all this time, since he's very talented and thanks to him, they managed to defeat the big guy. Desu replies that he's a commoner, and that's why he never gained much attention in the magic school, even though he has talent. The wizard then regrets it, as if he had been in the magic tower, he could have supported him to be even stronger. Well, everything's great, they defeated the final boss, now everyone will be happy, and the anime's over, right? Wrong. While they're talking, they sense an overwhelming amount of mana coming from where Napolitan was. They notice that it accumulated a great amount of mana in its heart, and now that it's dead, it's going to explode, and that's not going to be cool. They wonder why this is happening, since they clearly defeated it. But now there's no time for explanations, they just await the impact of the explosion. The group's wizard even uses a barrier, but I really doubt it will be enough. Finally, the heart explodes. And as expected, it's the end for everyone. Now all that's left is to pray. In his last moments, Desu remembers his lost friends and regrets dying in this way. The impact hits him, and he closes his eyes. And that's when things get weird for him. Instead of dying, as would be normal in that situation, something sinister happens. Desu finds himself back at the magic school, on the day of the new student's admission ceremony, in other words, his first day at school. Now he's younger and without the battle scars on his face. But other than that, all his memories are intact, and he's not understanding anything. Well, that's understandable, right? He looks at himself in the mirror and asks what's going on, until he hears applause and moves towards it. Arriving there, he realizes that it's indeed the admission ceremony he attended 13 years ago. The teacher explains to everyone that being there doesn't mean they'll get into the school. To be considered eligible, they must pass the special test, and only the top 600 can enroll. And this test is to clear a dark world. Desu remembers that it was exactly like this in the past and even speaks along with the teacher at this part. He still doesn't quite understand what's going on until the teacher mentions that the admission test for the year 3613 is about to begin. This indicates that he went back 13 years from his battle against Napolitan, and obviously, he's in shock, since the battle against the dragon started in 3616, 3 years after he entered school, and it lasted for 10 years. And if Desu went back 13 years, he questions if all that suffering he went through was in vain. Desu will try to catch his breath and will realize that all this is real, not a dream. While he thinks, a girl calls him. She asks if he's Desu Herman, and he confirms. She introduces herself as Ladoria Darish. She's from the second year and will be Deser's mentor. Deser remembers that this girl is a prodigy wizard who uses fire magic, and she ranked first in the institute's greatest talents. She finds it odd that he's staring at her intently and asks what's happening. Deser only says he's a bit nervous about the test, and she quickly encourages him, saying it will be easy, since they're just checking if they can fight or not. At this moment, she notices he's a commoner and mentions that unfortunately, even with good grades, he'll end up in the beta class, where commoners and students with poor grades go. Deser recalls this system and mentions that because of it, many talents were lost due to lack of instruction, as all the academy's efforts focus on the alpha class, where the nobles are. After that, they return inside the school and head to a hall. Ladoria finds it odd that Deser isn't impressed with the school structure, and Deser just mentions he's visited a similar building. She claims it's a lie, as no building is remotely similar to this one, and Deser just smiles silly. Then she says they need to hurry or they'll be late for the test location. As they walk down a corridor, another second-year student appears. His name is Elhain, and Ladoria refers to him as an idiot. Deser remembers him and mentions he's a water magic wizard. He didn't get along well with Ladoria. Deser whispers to her asking if she doesn't like him, and she replies not only does she not like him, but she hates him with all her might. The guy starts talking and is extremely inappropriate, saying Ladoria was late because she's tiny with short legs. After they argue a bit, his attention shifts to Deser. He looks up his name on some kind of tablet and realizes he's a commoner. The guy starts laughing, saying that's what he expected from Ladoria, that a commoner suits her perfectly. After he leaves, Ladoria gets really angry and says Deser is obliged to pass the test. They head towards the test hall, and Deser starts looking around trying to find his friend, the one we saw dying in his arms. After looking a lot, he imagines she's not there, until by coincidence, she appears behind him and asks why he's looking around. Deser turns around and calls her by her name, Romantica. And looking at her face, he once again remembers the scene where she died in his arms. Seeing her, he thinks he doesn't know why this is happening, but since it is, he won't allow that tragedy to happen again. He will rewrite the history of this world. She in turn asks how on earth he knows her name since they don't know each other. Makes sense, right? Deser quickly replies he saw it on the screen above, and apparently, they'll be in the same group for the test. She wishes Deser good luck and leaves. Then Deser goes to talk to Ladoria, and she explains to him what their test will consist of. Basically, IT will be a race, but it's not just running and reaching the finish line first. In this test, attacks between participants are allowed, and if you receive a fatal hit, you're disqualified. But don't worry, since it's just a test, they won't die if they receive a fatal attack, they'll just be disqualified and teleported back to school. At this point, that sneaky guy shows up and says it's impossible for Deser to pass the test, since his student is a magic knight, and his name is Azest Kingscrown. For those who didn't pay attention, Azest is one of the 6 people who, along with Deser, fought against Napolitan. Deser is happy to see her and wonder if she also has memories of what they lived in the future. In his thoughts, he tells us how amazing she is. Besides being a magic knight, she's also an excellent wizard. After that, they leave, and soon the test for Deser's group will begin. He lines up with the other participants and they're teleported to the world where the test will take place. Right from the start, they're told that the first 3 to cross the finish line they can see on the horizon will pass the test. They're also informed that they're allowed to use magical attacks, interferences, and any other method to benefit them in the race. If they receive fatal damage, they're disqualified, and they're prompted to line up at the start line and get ready. Soon the test will begin. While they prepare, Deser again focuses on Azest. He wonders if the girl still holds memories of the future. At this moment, she talks to him, saying she noticed he's been observing her, but tells him not to worry, since even if he keeps training, he'll never get stronger, and that's why she won't attack him. According to her, she can't waste time with a weakling. With that, Deser confirms she really doesn't have memories of the future. And right after that, the countdown begins, and finally, the race starts. As expected, Azest quickly takes the lead, and the other competitors follow. Deser and Romantica fall behind, and Deser starts talking to her as they run. Romantica spots a little creature in the grass and finds it really cute. At that moment, Deser mentions he can see she still likes that kind of thing. The girl finds it really weird, of course. Deser is acting like he knows her, and he does. But at this point, only he has his memories, and Romantica has no idea who this guy is talking to her as if they've known each other for years. That makes her really nervous, and Romantica asks if he's flirting with her. Desu just smiles and says that at their pace, they'll lose the race. Romantica tells him not to compare her to him and to stop acting like he knows her. Desu apologizes and smiles again, a smile that deeply irritates the redhead. While they were talking, Desu spots an attack coming their way and without thinking, he pushes Romantica, and fortunately, the attack doesn't hit her. The guy who attacked tries another attack, but now Romantica is readying counters with a wind magic. Thus, the other competitor is easily disqualified. Then she thanks Desu for saving her but says that since she eliminated that guy, they're even now. And Desu smiles again, which completely infuriates the girl. At that moment, Desu asks if she's not going to run, since those ahead have a good advantage over them. Romantica says it's not a problem, she'll use something she was saving. She uses a wind magic, and meanwhile, we're shown a kind of control room where the teachers evaluate the students in the test. They say that in Group D, it's obvious that Azest will win, as she's very powerful. But they disparage Desu because he's a commoner. I bet they'll be surprised by the test result, but I won't spoil it. And remember the magic Romantica used a while ago? Well, she immediately takes out another competitor. Azest keeps advancing, cutting through the wind, and the other competitor is disqualified as a tree falls on him. Now there are only 3 participants left, Azest, Desu, and Romantica. We go back to the 2, and the girl says that now they both will pass. Well, that's what Desu hoped, but in reality, she says his little smile left her really annoyed, and he will have to pay for that. Desu asks if that's not enough. She, in turn, tells him to give up before he gets hurt. However, Desu doesn't give up, which surprises her. She asks if he's dumb, since he already saw her magic and knows how strong she is. Desu keeps going and doesn't give up. She says there's no other option, she'll crush him now. Romantica summons several magic circles, and soon several wind shots hit him. After casting her magic, she walks away as if she had already defeated him. But as she turns and moves forward, Desu mentions he's surprised that she can handle so many magic circles simultaneously. The girl is impressed that he wasn't shattered. Desu then starts talking about her attack. He says she prioritizes speed, so her control is weak. Thus, with a simple deflection in the root of the magic, he can make all her attacks miss. She gets angry and summons several magic circles again. But again, it doesn't work. Desu subtly diverts the path of all the attacks. Romantica notices that he's using a reversal spell, but she finds it strange. Since his magic circle is very small, and to achieve this result, he would need a much bigger one. This talk about his circle is weird, but let's keep going here. She decides to try harder and summons many more circles and tries to attack him. Unfortunately for her, it doesn't work. Desu easily nullifies all the spells. Desu then says that she's mistaken if she thinks he can only use reversal spells. He then invokes the grease spell, which makes him lose friction with the ground. A very basic spell. Desu tells Romantica that the test is not about fighting her, but about reaching the finish line first. He also mentions that he can receive damage there as long as it's not a fatal hit, which makes his next move possible. He combines the grease spell with a fire explosion that makes him slide very fast forward. And obviously, this impresses the girl. Up ahead, Azest spots the finish line. She senses Desu's presence and realizes he will catch up. She says she doesn't know what he did to beat Romantica, but retracts what she said about him being weak. Azest is a person of few words and quickly summons dozens and dozens of magic circles to attack Desu. He then stops and starts analyzing her spells so they're nullified. He quickly takes control of most circles. Seeing he was doing that, Azest quickly shoots with the ones left, but Desu manages to dodge all fatal attacks. Azest launches a new attack and says this time he'll be defeated. Desu quickly takes control of her attack and uses the grease spell again. He puts the trajectory of Azest's spell behind him, and the shockwave makes him race very quickly to the finish line. Azest tries to react, but Desu zips past her like a bullet and finishes the test in first place. Azest comes in second, and Romantica follows close behind in third place. Desu thinks, saying they need to get stronger so they can avoid the tragedy that awaits them. Hey, did you like this beginning of the anime? Then my dear friends, tell me here in the comments what you thought. Oh, and while you're at it, subscribe and leave a like on the video here, it helps me out. It helps in the video's promotion, and it costs nothing. And to reward you for that, I left a sensational video here on the end screen. It tells the story of Adonis, a boy raised by a kind witch, who saw his mentor brutally murdered by humans. The boy swore revenge, and trust me, it'll be one of the most bloody and brutal you've seen. Click on the screen and go there, it's amazing. Cool. Until next time, see ya.